Smart founders take a strategic approach to raising startup funds. I'm Sam Wong, and I'm a startup CEO coach. This video is the third in a series of 6 videos that make up my class on raising pre-seed and seed funds. Continue watching to learn how to plan your fundraise strategically. The second step, okay, after prepare, you need to plan. Okay, and what we're talking about here in terms of the plan is building a funding strategy. Okay, if you're going to raise funds, planning is super important. Benjamin Franklin says, if you fail to plan, you are planning to fail. We talk about building the funding strategy in our funding strategy class on our Fundable Startups website. This is our most popular class. It's 4 hours long. People ask, what do you talk about for 4 hours? Well, there's a lot of detail that you want to make sure you get right, because funding is such an important thing for you to do. Most founders focus on just pitching when they are looking at their fundraise. They ask questions only related to the pitch so that they can improve their pitch tactics. However, focusing on pitch tactics without a funding strategy is a mistake, because what we found is that how much do you know? How does a founder know how much to raise or what to do? Most founders follow the herd. They do some quick analysis on what other companies that are like them typically do, and then they mimic it and they say, well, that company's in the seed stage. They tried to raise this amount of money. I'm going to do the same. What that usually results in is an ill-fitting funding amount for you. You either raise too little or too much for your situation. And when you make these mistakes of raising not enough money, or you raise too much money too early, it affects your, obviously if you don't raise enough money, you're going to run out of money early. If you raise too much money too soon, you will over dilute yourself because you raised more money than you needed at your lowest valuation. Okay, which results in over dilution. You may also raise money with poor terms. You can raise money from the wrong investors. And what usually happens is that when you do these mistakes, it results in a smaller upside for you as a founder. You lose control more quickly, and you run into painful operating issues. These problems typically are not visible for 1 to 5 years in the future. So, funding strategy. There are 4 components of a funding strategy: the approach and sources, vehicles, and targets. The approach answers questions like, when should you raise? Why should you raise money this way? And how much should you raise? The sources addresses issues of from where, high net worth individuals, angel investors, or venture capitalists, etc. Using what type of contract to raise, as well as once you determine I'm going to target venture capitalists, which venture capitalists are most likely to raise, to invest in you. Okay, so here we have a chart, a little graph that shows the typical growth of the company's valuation in time. It is not a smooth line. It is usually some type of stair step. A startup grows its valuation tied to a number of inflection points. And an inflection point is a measurable milestone that will dramatically increase your company's value. So here on this chart, the inflection points are the red diamonds. You should raise funds at the green rectangles immediately after an inflection point. Okay, so in terms of how much to raise, well, you should raise enough money to get you past the next inflection point. What that means is that you need to know where your inflection points are going to fall, how much money and how long it's going to take to get there, because that will help you know what is the right amount to raise. Okay, we're going to we'll walk through here a scenario of 2 different companies with the exact same growth path, but one company raises funds strategically, the other one does not, and we'll take a look at what happens to the outcome. Okay, so you have a company that has their inflection point growth, right? And because the founders know exactly where those inflection points are, they raise the right amount of money at the right time using the right instruments. So they get favorable terms. For the purpose of this illustration, we'll assume they get a fast exit at $40 million. Somebody offers to acquire them, and they said, yeah, let's take the deal. All right. On the right side, without a funding strategy, with the exact same growth path, okay, the founders raised too much money in a convertible note too early, which meant the terms of the note weren't that great. That got them past the first inflection point, but didn't get to the second. So they had to raise a bridge loan, and bridge loans have even worse terms. It's like going to a payday money lender. All right. And then that bridge was able to get them to a point where they raised a larger seed round, but it was more than they actually needed before they actually got acquired. So the bottom line, the terms of each one of those individual steps weren't quite as attractive as on the left side. How does that affect your payout? With a funding strategy, the employees get to keep $31 million of the $40 million acquisition. But without the funding strategy and the exact same growth path, they only keep $8.8 million, which is a 3.5 time difference in how much money the founders get to pocket. Okay, that's a big deal. This is the third in a series of 6 videos from Fundable startups on raising pre-seed and seed funds. You can jump to the next video by clicking in the lower left-hand corner, or the playlist in the upper left provides access to all the videos in the series.